Now, for more on that travel bubble with Tasmania, joining me live is the Tourism Industry Council Tasmania CEO, Luke Martin. Luke, thanks for joining me.
G'day, Andrea. Thanks for having me.
So, 5 months since the borders were closed to the entire mainland, this must be music to the ears of tourism providers.
Yeah, look, it is. It's been a really difficult few months for us. You've got to understand about 17% of Tasmanians are employed directly or indirectly by tourism. So, obviously, it's been a really uncertain few months for us, and obviously now seeing a pathway towards the resumption of our domestic travel and seeing our visitor activity resume is welcome news.
Just how have businesses been doing it?
Look, it's been just an extraordinary period of uncertainty. We essentially went from our busiest time of year in March, and when the state has been going through this real golden period of tourism for many years now, to nothing, almost overnight. And that's caused a lot of emotional heartache, a lot of obviously businesses having to reset their futures and really uncertain about their workforce and what the future might hold. So clearly, JobKeeper's extension has been really important, and now we have a pathway towards gradually opening our borders and resuming our industry is really welcome news. So look, I'm sure I don't speak alone. Tourism destinations everywhere in Australia are going through a very difficult period now, and for us in Tasmania, we now see a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully other destinations right across the country are seeing the same, starting to see some same way forward.
When the Tasmanian Premier decided that he was going to delay the border reopening, initially there were calls from some business groups down there to lift all the remaining restrictions inside the state or provide more support. Do you think now that this travel bubble has come in that it will sort of, quell some of those concerns?
Look, I think we are in this really unique position in Tasmania where we've essentially gone the best part of 2.5 months now with 0 cases. We had 1 case this week, which was someone coming back into Tasmania. So there's this really difficult tightrope for Tasmania to walk where we have essentially achieved eradication, and a lot of Tasmanians are very comfortably going about their lives now. But at the same time, we have this ticking time bomb, I guess, of economic heartache that's we know is coming. And it's just such a difficult period for us to navigate through, obviously, how we can gradually restore all of our business activity within the state, starting by lowering the local restrictions because we have been able to eradicate the local impact, plus at the same time recognise that our economic future really hangs on being able to welcome back our interstate visitors and then eventually our overseas visitors as a very tourism-dependent economy.
Given that Tasmania has been COVID-free for such a big period of time, and then we can quickly see how quickly things can change if you look at the Victorian situation, for example, I noticed that there's mandatory testing required for those who are showing symptoms as they come across the border. Do you think Tasmanians, particularly business holders, would have felt more comfortable had there been mandatory testing for everyone crossing the border?
Well, I think a lot of Tasmanians would be very comfortable if there was mandatory testing. As I say, Tasmanians also had a really nasty scare with the outbreak we experienced in Burnie in the northwest, very much at the start of the crisis. So there's a real apprehension among the community, and I think our government and the community, including the business community, is very much recognising that another outbreak would have severe economic impact for the whole state, plus obviously change the dynamic we have as a state where, as I say, it's pretty business as usual down here at the moment. But at the same time, as I say, we know a lot of Tasmanians are on JobKeeper, a lot of people employed in the tourism sector, and the longer this uncertainty goes on, we just know that the economic impact is going to start to multiply. So from our perspective, it's about just getting that tightrope, protect what's obviously been achieved about essentially eradicating the disease, at the same time as gradually acknowledging there are risks about opening up and getting visitors into the state and managing those risks as well as we can. And if that includes mandatory temperature detection, obviously really strict requirements on people who have displayed symptoms essentially being turned around and asked to return home. Whatever the government and the public health authorities think is appropriate, as an industry, we'll stand by that and support that. The last thing we need is another outbreak. But what we do need to have is some responsible and sensible management of visitation back into the island.
Luke, just finally, Queensland's Deputy Premier today, Stephen Miles, he took a bit of a cheeky swipe at Tassie about being excluded from the travel bubble. He said, why would anyone want to go to Tassie? There's nothing there. Do you have any shots to fire back?
Look, why wouldn't anyone want to come to Tasmania? And what I found extraordinary about those comments was that if you actually look at the last few years, our fastest growing visitor market has been Queensland. So I think the Deputy Premier of Queensland's a little bit out of touch with the sentiment of his community. We've had a lot of Queenslanders come down the last couple of years, and hopefully a lot more to come when soon Queensland's restored to that bubble. I will say I don't know if this state versus state essentially knocks is necessarily helpful for anyone at the moment. And look, a lot of Tasmanians will be making their way to Queensland as soon as we get that border connection to that state, and hopefully we see a lot of Queenslanders come down too. And ideally, have a couple of AFL teams so we can play some AFL down here.
Thanks very much for your time, Luke Martin.
Thank you.